This is Richard Nixon, 37th President of the United States and the only president to resign from office. But before we get to that, we have to start from the beginning. Richard Milhouse Nixon was born January 9, 1913 in Yorba Linda, California. He attended Whittier College and then got a full scholarship to Duke University Law School. In 1940, he married Thelma Catherine Ryan, aka Pat. They went on to have two daughters, Tricia and Julie. After the war, Nixon ran for Congress. A few years later, he became Dwight Eisenhower's vice president when the duo won the 1952 election and were re-elected in 1956. In 1960, Nixon ran for president, but the Republican narrowly lost to Democrat John F. Kennedy. But in 1968 and 1972, Nixon was elected. He served almost 2 terms for a total of 5 years and 6 months. Vice President Spiro Agnew served under Nixon during his first term, but resigned after being charged with federal tax evasion. Vice President Gerald Ford replaced Agnew, then moved on to become president when Nixon resigned. Despite going out with a bang, Nixon's presidency involved many historically significant events. When Nixon was elected in 1968, he publicly announced a plan to end the Vietnam War through his Vietnamization strategy. However, after bypassing the Secretary of State and Secretary of Defense, he secretly escalated the conflict, sending forces to Laos and bombing Cambodia. Nixon's prolonging of the war is historically significant because the public strongly opposed the idea for many reasons. There was no direct attack on the United States, and a massive death toll fueled public backlash. This opposition resulted in nationwide protests, such as the Kent State Massacre. Before the civil movement, it was the societal norm to serve your country during war. Now, American youth held a new perspective that focused on individual freedom and choice over the ideology of blindly serving your country. Today, millions of Americans have the choice to participate in foreign conflict as a soldier, a freedom never enjoyed before the Vietnam War. In 1972, Nixon signed Title IX, a section of the Education Amendment that states that female federally funded education programs will receive the same funding as male programs. The historical significance of Nixon's law is difficult to exaggerate. Serena Marshall from ABC News reported, since its passage, girls' participation in sport has gone from 1 in 27 to 2 in 5 at the high school level. Not only have women become more involved in sport, but countless other aspects of education, such as course offerings, financial assistance, and student health insurance. The prohibition of gender discrimination in federally financed education programs has forever changed the lives of American women for the better, by providing them with equal learning opportunities as the opposite sex. In February of 1972, Nixon played the China card when he visited Beijing. This set in motion the normalization of relations with the People's Republic of China. This visit is of great historic importance since Nixon's diplomatic actions created opportunity to improve economic and political states of each country. Prior to this, China and the US had not had trade or diplomatic dealings since 1949. Today, China is the US's largest trade partner, with over $500 billion in total trade. From a political standpoint, Nixon's visit to China helped shift the Cold War balance of power towards the West by using open dialogue to counter the tension between China and the USSR. Nixon's visit further established the United States' important position in the Cold War. In June of 1972, 5 burglars were arrested following the break-in at the Democratic National Committee headquarters, located in the Watergate Hotel. The Republicans attempted to cover up their involvement in the scandal, but further investigation revealed multiple abuses of power by the Nixon administration. Facing certain impeachment, Nixon became the first president to resign from office. This event is historically significant because it shed light on the power of the press and developed uncertainty towards the government. An unknowing group of reporters were investigating a regular break-in, unaware that the rabbit hole would lead to a presidential scandal. This event forever changed journalism in society, making it a more aggressive and less respectful establishment. Hungry for transparency, an epidemic of skepticism broke out, leaving behind deep distrust in the federal government. Fast forward to current political situations, the government must regularly defend the legitimacy of their operations. In some cases, they spend more time convincing the public that they can do their jobs, rather than actually doing them. In conclusion, the Vietnam War brought about civil revolution, when the government was not acting in the people's best interest, and force was used to make change. Similarly, in Title IX, voices of half the population demanded fair representation, resulting in more rights and opportunities for women. Nixon's visit to China opened doors to diplomacy, which highlighted the value of the U.S. being recognized on an international stage. Watergate left the press more powerful and fueled a generation of skeptics. Even though Nixon is remembered for deception and secrecy, his actions ultimately brought forth the expectation of a transparent and accountable government.